Hi guys, today 1.3 tier list. And yeah, it's been a while since 1.0 tier list, like 2 months. I'm sorry for that, but these videos take such a long time. And why? Well, I need to play first with every single tank right here for 10 to 15 games, with some of them even more, because I don't want to put out their uncompleted tier list. First that, then edit all that gameplay of like 20 hours, maybe a little bit less, and put everything together in this 1 hour that you will see. So yeah, I would highly appreciate like, subscribe and comment. It helps small channels like mine out very much. Please comment down below, what do you think about this sort of a video? Do you think I go into too much details about every single tank? Because I want to explain for every tank pros, cons, how to play it, how to, as a new player, which tank is it easy to play, hard to play, stuff like that. Do you think it's too much? Do you think I should just go even faster, That's good, that's good, that's good, that's bad. F tier or D tier. So please, I would highly appreciate your comment on that. Now, based on what am I ranking these tanks? First, all of them are 1.3. Every single 1.3 tank in the game is right here. I rank them based on realistic. So ground realistic battles. I don't rank them based on arcade or simulator. If I do that, completely different list. And I will rank them how good they are. Now, I know this is hard. I know. Some of you, it depends. What do you like? What's your gameplay? What's your playstyle? All of that, it will change this tier list a little bit. So if you disagree, comment down below. You will help new players, other players who are searching, what do you think? More sample size always helps. But one thing, because I made a post on Reddit to ask people what they think about this, thanks to them for helping. One thing I saw is Pz.III right here. Someone said, but not someone, a lot of people, even my friend, oh, in certain situation this tank is S tier. Yeah, but in how many games will you be able to have a perfect situation in perfect position? It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. So I can't do that, Oh, if you get perfect map, perfect situation, you're broken. Which tank isn't? So one question to myself was, if I go 10 games, how many of those games will I be able to make the tank work? For example, BT5 right here. Almost every single game. Out of 10 games, 9 to 10 games, I will be able to make this tank work. Rogo, on the other hand, even as a, I would say, experienced and good player, not the best, but good, I can make this tank work 1 to 2 times out of 10 games. Maybe not even that. Also, one hard thing to rank was SPAs. It's always a question, oh, should I rank them based on how they perform against planes or against tanks? I try to do both. I will explain how is it against planes, how it is against tanks, and then, against tanks, for example, S tier, against planes, D tier. Well, I will put it around B tier probably. It highly depends on the tank. If it's like Falcon, for example, brutal against tanks and also good against tanks, yeah, it should go in S tier. So that's a little bit harder. Also keep in mind this, if I have 5, 6, 7 tanks right here, is the tank right here or right here? It comes down to personal preference with a lot of them. So I will be saying that, I already recorded everything, edited everything, so I know what you will see. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video, and let's go. And let's start with M2 for America. And this tank, it's not a great start, when you have tanks in 1.0 like M2A4, LVT and M8 as a premium, and then you get to this, it's a downgrade. It's a downgrade. And look, you're fast, or decently fast. You have still 37mm cannon that just shreds people with APCBC. No stabilizer. Turret rotation is horrible. It's so slow that if someone is driving from left to right in front of you, you can't follow him, You need to move your whole tank for that. Uh, and on top of that, it looks like you have armor. You don't. Most of the time I was penetrated, one-shotted. There were a couple of times where I bounced, sure, but it's not worth it. For that reason, I will put it in C tier, bad tank. I have nothing more to say. Go play M2F4, go play LVT. Much better vehicles. M8 HMC next, and you get this vehicle with both US and China, so I will rank them together, they're the same vehicle. Again, same problem. Turret rotation is so bad that you can't get your gun on target. And you know what, let's go first through good things. You're quite fast, so you know, I'll give it that. Then armor. It's actually working more times than you would expect. And then third good thing is 50 cal on the top. Sure, all this is fine, all this is nice. And then bad things starts to, you know, happen. And first, suspension. You've come to a stop, your gun is bouncing, and that wouldn't be that big of a problem if not for terrible vertical speed, you know, terrible turret rotation where you just can't get your gun on target. You're open, so high explosive heat planes, they will melt you like nothing. Yes, you can fight against planes with 50 cal, but you know, not that good. Some people said, you know, gun is good, gun is a good thing on this tank. I disagree. I would much rather have 37mm cannon than 75mm cannon. You get this heat round, which sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. If you meet open vehicles, if you meet very light vehicles, sure, you can one-shot them all day, but hit just a tiny bit wrong, you know, and your shot does nothing. When someone is moving and you're trying to aim with this unreliable gun, you know, with your terrible horizontal or vertical guidance, yeah, you know, it's nothing special. But at the end of the day, you know, because of speed, because of 50 cal, I will still put it in B tier. I think it's better than M2. I would much rather play it, you know, than M2. Too unreliable, and also turret rotation is horrible, so yeah. For new players, I think this is hard to play due to bad turret rotation, not reliable ammo, so yeah. Then we have Germany, and let's start with first 3 medium tanks. And let's start with Panzerjäger I. What a huge improvement over 1.0. What a huge improvement. If you skip the Pz.III or skip this tank because you thought, boy, you know, what a disgust, go check it out, it's much better. 42 kilometers per hour top speed, so it's not terrible. Then you have 25mm of armor, you know, not great, but then we've come to a good thing on this tank, stabilizer. Stabilizer helps so much in this BR. And you have 37mm cannon with APHE with 62mm of penetration. This is enough. This is enough, and because of stabilizer, you can make this tank work. And straight up, I'm gonna put it in A tier. This is a very good tank in my opinion. Yes, it's not the best out there, sure, but nevertheless, a very good tank. For new players, I highly recommend it. It has stabilizer, and that's like one of the biggest things for new players in my opinion. What makes the tank easy to play. And also gun, ammo, it's good enough. Panzer III, huge improvement on speed. You go from 42 kilometers per hour on Panzerjäger to 71 on this one. Yes, you're not always reaching that top speed, but it's much quicker. Your armor goes to 30mm of armor. Not that big of an improvement, but you have 30 at the front, 30 at the side, and it really allows you to angle your tank and make your armor work. It's beautiful tank. Your gun gets better. Instead of 37 like on Panzerjäger and Panzer III in 1.0, you have 50mm cannon. Much better cannon. Yes, your reload goes from 3.3 to 4 seconds, so reload is bigger, but also, you know, it's much better. 80mm of penetration, nice explosive, you're one-shotting most of the people. Beautiful tank, but one bad thing, no stabilizer. So you're trading stabilizer for better armor, better gun, and better speed, and I think it's absolutely worth it. A tier. in front of Panzer.38T. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful tank. And now for new players, Pz.III F. I think it will be a little bit harder to play than Panzer.38T. But as soon as you know what you're doing, this one is better option. And then the last one, Panzer.IV C. And this one is a stinker, let me tell you that. And also, what changes? It's like Panzer.III F. 30 millimeters of armor at the front, but 15 at the side. This is just... It's worse to angle, you know, your tank. So that's first thing. Then your speed is limited to 42 kilometers per hour, same as on Panzer.38T. But you still don't have stabilizer. So, you know, that's bad. And then gun 75 millimeter cannon. And this is almost the same category as M8 HMC cannon. You get this 75 millimeter derp cannon that you can use 2 shots on, APHE and also how is it called, heat. APHE 52 millimeters of penetration and heat 80 millimeters. I've used both ammo in this tank and I think both, you know, for you just heat is a little bit worse for me because it's just so many randomness with it, but on the other hand there are so many open vehicles that you one shot with, so you need to decide. Let's go through. Panzer.38T, you know, you had stabilizer, with this one you don't. So you get 5 millimeters of armor at the front, you lose stabilizer, you get, in my opinion, worse gun. I would much rather use 37 millimeter cannon. So that's why I think it deserves B tier. I'm sorry, but I can't put it any higher. I think these two tanks are much better than this one. Just how it is. And I think it's better than M8 HMC because the turret rotation. You're closed. You know, for new players, you will not enjoy playing it that much just because the gun. You need to know where to hit your shots. If you don't, it's even more unreliable or, you know, less good. So, not the best option. Then Pz.II C. One is normal Tech 3 vehicle, one is premium. You can get this for free if you select Germany as your starting nation. And then this is Twitch drop. I don't think you will be able to get this tank, you know, if you don't already own it. Now, first let's talk about this tank's platform. It's a decently mobile light tank, you know, 44 kilometers per hour. You reach that, you know, quite fast. Terrible armor in my opinion, but your turret is actually very trolly, you know, heat shots and stuff like that will... Your turret will just absorb them sometimes, you know, just how it works. And now for gun. For gun you get 20mm cannon. You get a lot of tanks in 1.3 battle rating with this cannon. You know, different nations have a little bit different variant of this 20mm cannon, but they're pretty much... they're there, you know. So most of the time they have 10, 12 or 20 round magazines. With this tank you get 10 round magazine. And it's 280 rounds per minute, you know, quite fast. So that means that you run out of ammo very quickly with this tank, very quickly. And you need to be careful with that because after that you have 6 seconds of reload. But still, you know, with this gun you get 48 millimeters of penetration. 48 in this battle rating is enough for almost everyone. You will only struggle with some French tanks, that's it, you know. So when it comes down to this tank, it's like not the fastest out there, but fast. Then you get this autocannon with which you can kill one-on-one almost everyone, you know, reliably. You can even kill 1-on-2 or 1-on-3. You can kill them, you know, toop, 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 toop. But you need to be a little bit conservative with your shots. All in all, I think this is perfect tank. Perfect. If you bump down the reload after each clip, this tank would be broken in my opinion. I will put it in S tier. I know a lot of people will say, oh, but do you remember that 64 millimeters of penetration with these guns, you know, and before they were nerfed? Sure, you know. But still, they're amazing. The lack of stabilizer doesn't really mean much because, you know, you have machine gun. You can fire on the move, maybe hit one shot, come to a stop, you know, aim, boom, that. Beautiful tank. The only thing stopping or slowing it down from being even better is the reload of each clip. That's it. For new players, I think this is a great option. Great one. Quick rate of fire, easy to kill one-on-one, you know. You don't really need stabilizer, so I think this is a very good option. I would recommend choosing either Germany or America as your starting nation, so you get this tank or Stuart for free. Then tank destroyers, and here we have Panzerjäger. 47mm cannon, you know, beautiful round, beautiful. Quite a quick reload for a tank destroyer. It's decently fast. I think it goes 42 kilometers per hour for tank destroyer. This is beautiful. And the only downside of this tank is that the shield that protects crew members is very thin, so you know, machine guns, 50 cals, they will go through. And also you're open. Planes, heat, high explosive, artillery, it will melt you. But everything else but that, this tank is amazing. You can play aggressive, you can play defensive. Holy shit, I love playing this tank. In my opinion, this is like the pinnacle of tank destroyer, you know. So for that reason, A tier in front of Pz.III F. Sure, maybe some people will struggle with this, but I think that after you get used to this, it's amazing. For new players, you know, as I've said, a little bit harder to play at the start. After you get used to this gameplay, beautiful. And then we have here completely opposite tank destroyer, Sd.Kfz 251/9. Now this is half track with Panzer-IV C gun on top, you know, the 75mm cannon. And with this tank, it really comes down to which one do you prefer? Do you prefer Panzer-IV or this one? The downside of this tank is you're half track, you're open. You're open, high explosive planes, they shred you. What's good about this tank is sometimes no armor is best armor. You know, shot just goes through, it doesn't fuse the APHE. What's even better in my opinion is the suspension. Because it's half track, a lot of times you can fire on the move. Or you know, you've come to a stop and it's a little bit easier to start shooting, a little bit quicker. For that reason, I prefer it over Panzer-IV C. I prefer it over Panzer-IV C. Some people I know, or a lot of people, will disagree with this. I know it. It's just how it is. This is personal preference, B tier, average. But in front of Panzer-IV C, I think it's a little bit better tank. The only counter argument I could see is it's open, and why would you play this tank destroyer when you have Panzerjäger? You know, it's just how it is. For new players, yeah, the 75mm cannon again, it's gonna be hard to play or hard to get used to. I would just stick with Panzerjäger, it's better. And then we have the last German tank in normal tech tree, and it's Flakpanzer I. And this is first SPA we have right here. It uses same 20mm cannon as on Pz.II C, or same, you know, a little bit different model. I will not count models as a different gun, you know, it's 20mm. You get 20 round magazine, so immediately it's better. Then from 280 rounds per minute you go to 480, much better. You know, that helps you with destroying planes. It's much easier to hit someone. The bad thing with this gun is that yes, you get 48mm of penetration, but it's every second round is 48. You know, in between you have shots with 37mm of penetration, which is not bad, but you know, it needs to be said. Now the bad things with this tank, it's slow. You have like 55 or something like that horsepower. Top speed is 31, but you're not reaching that very often. It's very slow tank. Sure, for playing killing purposes this doesn't matter, but if you want to play it like me, you know, I try to make SPAs work even in tank on tank combat. Even if I don't destroy anyone, you know, as long as I'm annoying someone, you know, I'm making the tank work. And you only have 2 crew members, and your 1 crew member on top is exposed. So that's not good for high explosive, that's not good for machine guns, not good for planes. Because of all that, I will put it in A tier. It's a good tank. but I will put it right here at the end. I think you can make this argument for A tier in both on plain combat, but on plain combat I would even put it maybe a little bit higher, maybe not S tier. You're still very easy to kill, but it's good. On tank combat, it's perfect if you're in the right position, but to get into a position, it's a problem. So I think this is well-deserved spot. The next nation is Russia, and I think the next tank needs no introduction. Pz.IV. Holy shit, this is like, an example I always give of a broken tank, Pz.V Pz.VII. 400 horsepower enables this tank to go from 0 to a max speed like this, in a matter of a few seconds. And max speed with this one, it's 48 or 49. A little bit slower than Pz.V, with Pz.V in 1.0 you had it at 51. It's a little bit different model, and in terms of that, I think Pz.V is better. Your hull is angled a little bit more, so a little bit harder shot to be able to go through. With Pz.VII it's very easy kill. Same as Pz.V, but sometimes it just happens. So mobility is crazy good. You don't have stabilizer, that's one bad thing. And the third thing is gun. 45mm cannon with Russia is broken. This gun is broken. 72 or 71mm of penetration, it's more than enough. And then when you penetrate people, holy shit, it just kills everyone inside the tank. People will probably say, oh, but it's not the fastest out there, it also doesn't have stabilizer, so why is it so good? Well, the acceleration, it doesn't matter if you're in mud, in a ditch, it just goes. This tank goes, and you're able to get in a positions where no people expect you to be. So for that reason, S tier, broken tank. I'm gonna put it in front of Panzer.II C. Panzer.II C is more, right here. At the back of S tier, looking forward, but unable to get there. And, tanks in A are dragging him for, the shirt a little bit. That's where Panzer.II C is. Pz.VII, on the other hand, it's right here at the top. Now, for new players, the tank with Great Britain that we have right here, A13, will be better than the Pz.VII for new player. Because it's a little bit harder to play. You need to know where to get into good positions to, make speed work. If you don't know how to make speed work, this tank goes like down here, So yeah, that's the only reason. As soon as you get a little bit better, get good. Holy shit, there's no stopping this tank apart from, other tanks in S tier. Then the next tank that is really in the shadows with Russia because of Pz.V, Pz.VII, and, tanks like that. And in my opinion, it should be played more. It's much better vehicle than people think. First, engine power, 500 horsepower. Top speed 38 only, sure, it doesn't go that fast, but it just moves over the hills, moves in the city like nothing. It's huge, so, a lot of time people will just, they don't know where to shoot you. And your two machine gun turrets are perfect bait for shots, perfect one. As soon as you encounter a little bit better players, sure, these tanks drop down a lot, in how good it is. So fast, survivable, and on top of that you get a gun, 76mm cannon, with only 37mm of penetration. And I know a lot of people look at this and say, oh, what the fuck? That's horrible. Yep, but this round, with range and with angle, it loses almost 0 penetration. On at least ranges you will fight people, on like 500 meters, it has like 2 less penetration. It doesn't matter. Every tank you shoot at, you just boom, one shot. Boom, one shot. Boom, one shot. Doesn't matter that you hit Panzer.III F at angle. Boom, it goes through, it kills everyone. I've released a video a few days ago on this tank, go check it out. Just the intro will showcase you why this tank is so good. I think it deserves a spot. Yep. Now I will put it between Panzer.III F and Pz.38 This is really personal preference. Do you like this one? Do you like this one better? This one, this one? Depends. For new players, I don't think this tank is that great. As soon as you know where to shoot people, you know where to go to make this tank work, it's beautiful. Next is Great Britain, and we have 3 tanks. First, let's go to A13 Mark II. This is basically the same tank as Mark I in 1.0, but a little bit better. Speed 48 kilometers per hour. The speed, you know, it's good. The best thing on this tank is gun and stabilizer. Stabilizer is such a huge deal. And you got 40mm cannon, and this cannon is beautiful, but you need to be careful one thing. I would recommend that you don't use APHE. Don't use it. Go with APCBC, it's much better shot. APHE is just unreliable on 40mm cannons. It does nothing so many times that, you know, why not use APCBC? More penetration, 89. It goes through tanks like nothing. You're one-shotting most of the people anyway. And yeah, for that reasons, you know, if I go through it again, fast, stabilizer, beautiful gun, S tier. I think, again, personal preference here. I think A13 or BT7. I think for good players, BT7 is better. For new players, A13 Mark II is beautiful option. Beautiful one. It's so easy to play. Of course, you can make it better by being better, you know, but yeah. This one is premium version. Again, I will put it, you know, behind it. I don't care. But this personal preference, you can do like this. You know, you can put BT7 behind. Then Daimler. Daimler is a wheel tank. Again, fast, much quicker than A13 Mark II, you know, in at least in top speed terms. But it's wheeled, so I don't like it that much. It just dirt. Everything slows you down so much more than with A13. Now, yes, it does have stabilizer. You get the same 40mm cannon. Again, use APCBC, you know, the tank is good, but it's a little bit worse than A13 in my opinion. For that reason, I will put it still in S tier. It's amazing vehicle, but behind A13 Mark II. Maybe, you know, someone can convince me, oh, Daimler is better. But in my experience, I had so much more fun with A13, or not fun, you know, because we're not deciding how fun it is to play these tanks. But it's just a tiny bit better. And then the last vehicle, and this is a sad one. It's a great addition to the game, in my opinion. This is how Sub.III should work, you know, where you have different vehicles, not copy-paste like Gaijin is doing lately, but different vehicles. But this is a sad one, you know, in my opinion. It's not the greatest. Again, 40mm cannon, same one, use APCBC. And this platform is so weird. You're this light wheeled tank with open turret, very easy to kill with machine guns, with planes. If you look at stats, it's even faster and a little bit better than Daimler. But I don't feel it. I don't feel it. It's too easy to kill. It doesn't have stabilizer, so that's, you know, the biggest thing right here. And your gun is bouncing so much. You know, if you shoot sideways with this tank, your tank is almost falling over, you know, and your reload is 2.8 seconds, and when you have your second shot ready, your gun is still bouncing from the first shot. You know, I didn't enjoy playing it at all. That's why I will put it in B tier, right behind Panzer.IV C. No, with this one, I can see a lot of people disagreeing, you know, saying, oh, it's up here. I don't think so. I had too many games where this tank just doesn't work because of the platform. And I was like, why am I not playing Daimler or A13? You know, and I know I'm not ranking that, you know. Oh, which tank should I rather play? Sure, but I don't see it. For new players, you know, also, don't ever play this when you have A13 and Daimler. It's not a good option, good choice. Then we go to Japan. And with Japan, we have 4 tanks. First, let's start with Chiha. This tank you get with Japan and also with China. Now, this tank, holy shit, I don't like it. I have videos on every single Japanese tank right here, you know. I've played them a lot, I covered them a lot. And this is one tank that... we have one more at the end. But this is one tank that I really don't enjoy. It's slow, or, you know, it's not as slow as some French tanks we have later. But it's slow, doesn't have armor, and then you get this shit gun with heat that is so unreliable. I was shooting Panzerjäger II C at the side of the turret at like 20-30 meters and I was unable to penetrate him. You know, it just... why? You ask yourself, why the fuck would you play this tank, you know? It's terrible in my opinion. I will put it in C tier behind M2. I don't think it's trash. You can still make the gun work. Sometimes it just works. But most of the time, the gun is acting horribly. You know, I don't enjoy it. For new players, I think this is a terrible, terrible choice for you to go. First, Japan. Don't even start with Japan as a new player. You know, you will not enjoy this game. Let me say it like that. But the next tank is the one that you will definitely enjoy. You know, new player, experienced player, doesn't matter. Oro, you get first platform is, you know, your standard platform for Japan and this battle rating. Decent speed but lacking engine power. You know, main feature of this tank, 150mm cannon. And this is just high explosive launcher. You know, you're like, catch. And whoever catches it, they go up. It doesn't matter if they play T-35, doesn't matter what they play. They're out of the game, you know, that. But here comes the problem. First 30-second reload, it's too big. As soon as you have two guys together or, you know, experienced players, they will just push you. After you kill one, they will push you and you're out of the game. Only 25mm of armor at the front. Open from the top, open from the back. Too many downsides for me to put this vehicle in S tier. But I still think it's a good vehicle, you know. That's why I will put it in A tier. But I will put it behind SPA right here. Because I think there are so many situations where you will not be able to be the most competitive guy out there. If I was ranking how fun it is to play this vehicle, it would go up here. But now, you know, let's put it in A. For new players, you are still able to one-shot everyone, you know. So that's that. You can't really go wrong with this tank. But it matters where you put yourself, you know, in what position. Because the difference is, are you bad? Okay, you're gonna get 1 kill. Or are you good player? You're gonna get like 10 kills, you know, or 5 to 10 kills. It's actually hard to carry with this tank. You know, it's just how it is. And here we have another SPA. And remember those 20mm cannons I was talking about? Yep, you get it right here with Type 94. Now look, platform, it's a truck. It goes 60 kilometers per hour, but don't expect to go 60 very often. It only has 3 crew members because it's not Russian, you know, so we can have 2 guys at the front in the cabin. No, we can't, you know, so as soon as someone kills your exposed 2 crew members at the back, you know, where the gun is, you're out of the game. Yep, because you're not Russian. Sorry. Yeah, I'm salty on that. But let's talk about the gun. You get 20mm cannon with 20 rounds, you know, much better. Much better than on Panzerjäger II C and same as on Flakpanzer. It has 300 rounds per minute, so much slower than Flakpanzer, so for, you know, anti-air purposes, it's not that good. But just a tiny bit faster than Panzerjäger II C. You know, all that is good so far, apart from survivability. But what's my biggest problem with this tank is not being able to shoot over your front. You can't shoot over your front, you know, because of your driver or the whole cabin right there. So you need to turn sideways, you need to drive backwards or something like that. So the best position with this tank is if you get a rock or something and you just position your tank behind the rock, you know, to where your gunner is only looking out and just, you know, then go to town. But overall, I think this tank, because so many downsides, bad survivability and not being able to shoot over the front, it can't go in S tier, it can't go in A tier in my opinion, even though in good situations this is A to S, you know. But I'm gonna put it in B tier as a first vehicle because it's SPA also, so you can shoot at planes, you can shoot at tanks. For Japan, it's a great vehicle, let me tell you that. Great one. I could see this one going up here, you know. I could see that. For new players, I really think you need to get used to it. And also, at 1.7 after this one, Tase, that tank is brutal. You know, just one of the best vehicles out there. Battle rating for battle rating. It's this one, but it's something like what's the closest thing right here? It's something like Flakpanzer but fast, and it just, you know, you destroy everyone with that tank. Same gun as on this one. So yeah, you know, go for that one for tank destroying. Next is China, and only one tank here. You know, the Chiha. We already covered the Chiha with Japan. Sd.Kfz 222. And maybe you're wondering, is this the German tank, you know, the 2.01? Yep, but the difference is a little bit worse armor, and the 20mm autocannon doesn't have the 48mm of penetration rounds. It only has 37, so you know that's the downgrade, but it's 1.3 instead of 2.0, so you know it justified. Now it's fast. Holy shit, it's fast, 80 kilometers per hour. It has enough engine power or horsepower to, you know, get there, so that's good. Machine gun, 20 rounds in the mag, 280 rounds per minute, so that's all good, you know. Sometimes it's even a little bit better to have a little bit less with these cannons. And it's just great vehicle, let me tell you that. It's a great vehicle. The only problem with this tank is 37mm penetration, not 48, you know. But I think you can work around it. It's fast enough, it's closed, yes, you're open, you know, planes, high explosive, sure. I still think it deserves a spot right here behind Panzer.II C. A Panzer.II C, it's a little bit better in my opinion. Yes, it's slower, but everything else is better. For new players, maybe it will be a little bit harder to play due to not that good penetration, but as soon as you get better, you can make this penetration work, no problem. And then, you know what, let's move to Italy, but let's do AS-42 first. Because, again, 20mm cannon, you know, and these two tanks, let me tell you that the Sd.Kfz 222 and AS-42, they're very close together in my opinion. With this one you have 12 round magazine, so that's worse. You're also slower. Yes, the top speed is the same or even a little bit better, but you're slower, you know. It just doesn't go as fast as the ASD KFZ 222 goes, so that's worse. Your crew member is exposed as fuck. This is like the most exposed crew guy, you know, out there. Only 2 crew members, so as soon as your gunner is out, you're dead. What's good with this tank is every other shot is 48mm of penetration. You know, so that's great. Penetration is better than on 222. It has a little bit slower rate of fire at 240. And also the reload is better at 3 seconds. So, you know, that's better. But I think the speed, the exposure of crew member, it's too much, and it, you know, with more penetration and fast reload, I don't think it's worth it. So I will put this at A tier, at the top. You know, first I had it like this, you know, both at A tier. First I thought, is AS-42 better? You know, and I switched both of these two, you know, for a couple of times. But at the end, I think 222 is just so much better due to speed that the penetration doesn't really matter. And I think it's a little bit above the AS-42, and you know, that's why this ranking. Now this tank is for new players. I don't think you will enjoy it that much. I don't. But for experienced players, for players who know how to make the tank work and, you know, where to go, where to position yourself, this is brutal vehicle. Very good one. And then we go to the tank. I always need to look this name up. 4732 or 30 L40. This is Italian tank destroyer, and oh, it's a bad one. I hate it with passion. It's not the fastest one with only 43 kilometers per hour and bad engine power in my opinion. The armor is 30 millimeters thick, but nothing special, Your crew member, one of them, the commander, is poking his head up, at the top, so it's easy to machine gun him down. Yeah, that's not good. Then when we come to the gun, 47mm cannon, and sure, 50 penetration, 30 grams of explosive mass. Sure, that's not bad. First penetration, it's not the best. You will struggle because the gun, the bullet deviation is just too much. And on top of that, add the Italian suspension syndrome, where you stop and your gun is just bouncing up and down like crazy. As a tank destroyer goes, Panzerjäger, even the... how is the other one called? 39219, something like that. That one is much better than this one in my opinion. That's why I will put this in C tier. But in front of Chiha. I would much rather play this, and I think it's a little bit better than Chiha. Next, French tanks, and yeah, these ones are stinkers. We have 3 tanks right here. We have AMC-35, D2, and S.//35. AMC-35, both uses 47mm cannon. AP shot on that with 62mm of penetration, and my problem with this gun first is the penetration, okay, but full spin damage, it's not enough. Sometimes you need like 4, 5, 6 shots. So yeah, that's not great. The good thing with AMC is 3 seconds reload. With D2 and S.//35 you have one turret crew, however it's called. So because of that you have 4 seconds reload. I think it's because of that at least. So only 3 seconds reload, that's good. Then 42 kilometers per hour top speed, that's, for French tank, it's good. And then 25mm of armor, nothing special. You're gonna die most of the time. And at the end of the day, look, it's not the most trash vehicle out there. No, it's not. It's decently fast for French tank. Let's insinuate that, the gun underperforming, but at least reload. I will put it in C tier, right behind M2. I think it's better than the Italian tank destroyer. It's better than Chiha, but nothing special. It can't go any higher. Then we have D2 right here. And as I said, 47mm cannon. It's underperforming in my opinion. Now this tank, it has 40mm of armor. And I think you have 45 or 56, depends on where you hit on the turret. So that's good, but 20 kilometers per hour top speed. This vehicle is such a piece of garbage. The problem is that you have more armor, but this armor, it's almost pointless. Almost every tank in this BR will go through, so I think it deserves nice D spot. Boy, pile of shit. S.//35 is next, and it's very similar actually to D2, but instead of 20 kilometers per hour, 40 kilometers per hour. Instantly makes it better, instantly. Again, 4 seconds reload on 47mm cannon, so that's nothing special. The armor layout is a little bit different, where you have 47mm of armor, the lower plate is still 40, and then the turret is a little bit better in my opinion, a little bit differently shaped. It's a little bit more narrow, so for that reasons, look, I think it's much better than D2. But I think it's worse than AMC-35, so I will put it right in here in C tier. And the next one is Lorraine, and this is tank destroyer with decent mobility, 35 kilometers per hour top speed. It needs a little bit of a time to get there, and now the biggest problem before we go to the gun is how easy it is to kill. Like 6 or 9mm of armor, terrible, terrible. Your crew members are exposed strafed by planes, you know, it's one of the easiest tank to kill. And then you have 47mm gun on the top with AP shots with 100mm of penetration, even a little bit more if I'm not mistaken. I mean, if you play France 1.3, this is your best option. It's your best option, you know, for real. Now I've been thinking, you know, to put this tank destroyer higher, because when you play France, this is it's like night and day. It's S tier if I would rate, you know, 1.3 France. But when you compare it to other tanks like SARC, for example, you know, the gun on SARC is a little bit worse, sure. But the mobility, the flexibility of a tank, it's too much, you know, for Lorraine to compete. And that's why I think, you know, it's behind SARC. I would still much rather play Lorraine than M8 HMC. I think it's better, but it can't go any higher. I think the downsides, the survivability, it hits it too hard. And the last French vehicle is SPA A13 and this one is weird one. 40 kilometers per hour. It says it goes 40 kilometers per hour, but it never does. Because of 20 horsepower. It goes nowhere. You know, so it's slow. 0 armor or 3mm of armor. Your driver, your loader and your gunner are exposed very much. That's horrible. Horrible. Against tanks, you can't even use it against tanks most of the time because you're too slow to get there, you know. So that's not great. Against planes, you're easily strafed. So let's move on to the guns now. And what can you do with the guns? On paper you see 4 13.2mm guns and you think, oh, but that's good, you know, that's good. And sure, it's good, you know, when you hit someone, it's very nice to see the 13.2 guns work. Sure, all that is nice. You know, 450 rounds per minute, 6-second reload, and this is bad because you only have 120 rounds in the magazine. And with 4 guns, that means 30 mag size per gun. You know, that's not great. And then my biggest problem with this tank is gun elevation. 45 degrees. What that means is if someone is strafing you from the top, you will not be able to even shoot at them, you know. So as soon as some good player sees you, yeah, you're out of the match. The penetration on the guns is also like 28. It's not enough to play against tanks, so I will put it in C tier. But at the top of it, because it's SPA and at the end of the day, you can make it work, you can shoot down planes. I think, you know, that's why it deserves this spot. If I would rank it based on how good it is against tanks, down here. Against planes, probably up here, you know, A or B. But yeah, I'm gonna go for the middle, C tier. For new players, you will suffer with this. I forgot to say, but you will suffer with every single French tank, apart from maybe Lorraine. You know, D2, terrible. You will not enjoy it. AMC, this one I think you will be able to do the most as a new player, and S.35. Lorraine also hard to play, but as you get better, it gets better and better. And we're on to the premium tanks. And first, I didn't go by nation here because you can see 4 tanks. These tanks, in my opinion, are very similar, apart, maybe independent. But all of them are these, you know, between World War I, World War II tanks, where you can see, you know, why. Because the infantry tanks were more popular back then, you know, machine guns all around, long tracks to go over trenches and stuff like that. So I put them together for that reason. And the German one, the Japanese one, 2 guns, Russian one, 3 guns, and independent only 1, but yeah, let's do them together. And let's start with the German one. Neubaufahrzeug, if I pronounce that correctly. The speed is not that bad for this kind of tank, 30 kilometers per hour. It's not bad, not at all. 6 crew members, and you know, the survivability is like the biggest problem with this tank. You have only 20 millimeters of armor on the hull, but even in some parts you have 13 on the turret ring. This is like your weak spot. Then your turret 15 millimeters. You know, survivability not that great. But what's good with this tank is 2 guns that are very close together, and one is 37mm cannon with 47mm of penetration. This is good, you know, 22 grams of explosive. This is good for small gun. This is in my opinion very good. And then 75mm cannon, the one that you have on Panzerjäger C, and in my opinion it's a little bit better in this tank because you have that backup 37mm cannon that is also able to do work. So all in all, I think this tank is great. I think it deserves B spot right after the Type 94. I truly think it's better than these two just because the secondary gun, and it's very easy to use them both. For new players, maybe you will struggle a little bit because you're very easy to kill, and you know that's a problem. But also two guns that are fairly easy to use. So I don't know. I think T-35, you know, the next tank on the list is better for new players, much better. So T-35, you know, 28 kilometers per hour. Only 2 kilometers per hour slower and 500 horsepower. And it needs it because it's 52 tons tank. So yeah, that's a lot. Very survivable due to, you know, you have 10 crew members right here, you know, very survivable. Only 20mm of armor on the turret. On small turrets on BT5, they basically stuck the BT5 turret to top of this tank. You know, that turret 25mm of armor and then hull 30. So hull is the hardest to penetrate, but 30, it's nothing that good, you know. So, and then the main thing about this tank and what makes it so good. First, turret on the top. It's T28 turret with T28 gun with 76mm cannon. You know, that one with only 37mm of penetration, and it just penetrates everything. So, you know, that's great. And then you have two BT5 turrets with 45mm cannons. One at the front, you know, looking directly in front. One at the back. And first 45mm, I already talked about it with BT7. It overperforms very much, you know. So this is two capable guns on this tank. And also you see the game in cargo port in the background. You can position yourself like that, you know, where people can flank you. You have 145 on the back. It's brutal. This tank in the right situation is brutal. Now my problem with this tank is that if people know where to shoot, this BT7 or this BT5 turret right here, like 2 games I think people shot me in here, boom, ammo rack, it goes up in flames. Yeah, so for that reason, you know, when people know where to shoot, it's not the greatest. All in all, I think it's a good tank, I think so. But I will put it back here behind Horo, just because there are so many situations where, you know, I would much rather be in T28, to be honest. It's just how it is. I know a lot of people will probably disagree with this and put it a little bit higher, maybe some a little bit lower. I think it's right here. For new players, I think this is great tank. Great one, very easy to play. Then we go to UK's independent, and we went from good tank to horrible tank. Let me tell you that, you know, the speed 32 kilometers per hour, it's not bad. But what happens with this tank? First, armor 28 on the turrets, you know, machine guns 13 doesn't really matter. 28, it's not enough. And then you get this gun 47mm cannon with 49mm of penetration around APHE, only 16 grams of explosive. It's not doing enough. I was killed instantly so many times, you know, one shot into a boom, I'm out. Gun depression, horrible, 4 degrees only. It feels even worse. Yes, horsepower is 370, but it's 32 ton tank and it just feels like shit. It feels like shit playing it. I don't recommend it. I don't think it's bad. I think it's trash. D tier. And then to even the worst one, Rogo. And this is the tank that first 23 kilometers per hour, it's the slowest of them all. Then, you know, armor, it has the most armor out of all of them. 35, and 25 on the turret. Some plates are even overlapping, you know, so it's 50. That's all good and oh, you know, but most of the time you will get penetrated, you will die, because the crew members inside, 5 of them at the front, are packed together like hell, you know, so one shot, boom, you're dead. Then you have one machine gunner at the back, you know, sure, but that's not helping that much. And then with the guns, first you get 37mm cannon, same as on Hago, with 34mm of penetration. That's horrible. Horrible. And even if you penetrate, most of the time you do nothing. And then the main gun, 70mm cannon, and this one uses the heat with 80mm of penetration. And this gun has one of the biggest bullet drops in the game. It's horrible. It's horrible. You know, me as an experienced player struggled to get kills with this tank. Struggled. You fight in a city where you fight people on 200 meters and you have a problem with bullet drop. It's such a big bullet drop that, you know, it matters. It matters just a tiny bit up and down. It matters. And even when you hit with that big, huge gun, sometimes it just doesn't work. That's why I think it deserves D tier. Boy, I made a video on this one. Out of like 15 games, I was being able to make it work. You know, where I just went in and destroyed everyone once. Once. The rest of the time, maybe I killed one, two, boom, that. You know, boom, that. I drove there for 5 minutes. You know, it's terrible. For new players, this is a horrible choice. Don't ever buy this. And we go from one of the worst tanks to one of the best. Pz.IV. This is BT5 with two giant rockets on the top. First BT5, you know, already talked about BT7. BT5, in my opinion, it's even better. A little bit better shaped hull, where you can bounce much more. Acceleration, look, it's broken in my opinion. 45mm cannon, very good. No stabilizer, doesn't really matter. And then with this one you even get two rockets. Sure, they're more of a fun to play, you know, mechanic, because they're not reliable. It's very hard to aim with those and to remember where to aim to hit someone, you know. It's very hard to do that, but I was still able to make some kills. And you know, even without rockets, these would go in S tier. First place, no doubt in my mind. It's up here. With rockets on the top, it's even more fun. I have nothing bad to say about this tank. Absolutely beautiful. Then we go to T26 E. And this is T26 with 30mm of armor plates, you know, welded on. All around the turret and almost all around the hull. There's a tiny spot on your right side where the driver is, that is not protected, and you know, that's a problem. If someone knows where to shoot, you know, that's a weak spot. But let me tell you that my problem with T26 in 1.0 was always, it's too slow and you get nothing out of it. You know, you have BT5 that is fast, that is everything good, and then you have T26, amazing gun, don't get me wrong, but shitty platform. Well, this shitty platform at least has some armor. You know, you get 55 or 45mm of armor combined, and it works somehow. I've had games where people just bounce off me, and for that reason, you know, I think this tank is actually good. So I've decided to put it in A tier. Now, where to put this tank, you know? I thought about this for a long time. I will put it behind Panzerjäger I, because I would still much rather play this tank. But I think, like, let this Pz.III F, T28, Panzerjäger and T26 E, I think those 4 tanks, personal preference. You know, which one do you prefer? Maybe even T35. And then even B tier. The whole B tier is personal preference. What do you prefer more over what? It's just hard to rank so many vehicles, you know. So yeah, that's why. Uh, don't be 100% fixated on this and think, oh, this is definitely better than... No. Personal preference, what do you like more and stuff like that. But it's up here, T26C. It's a great option. The only problem with these tanks, so RBT5 T26E, where it is the BA11 and BA24. These tanks are like 50 euros. Don't even start because I was crying when purchasing these shitty tanks for that amount of money. But if I would buy any of them, buy RBT5. Then BA11, and this is a weird one. I thought it's gonna be much better. To be honest, I thought it's gonna be much better. My problem with this vehicle is, or you know what, let's go first through good things. Gun is good, Russian 45. Just because of this gun, I don't think I can put it in trash, so that's first. And then the platform. The platform, you have 6 wheels or even more if you count double at the back. But it's slow. It's so slow, nothing special. Nothing special about this vehicle. The only good thing is that it's so slow and, wheels, so your gun is not bouncing that much. And because of that, you can actually shoot people on the move sometimes. For that reason, that's the only reason why it's good, that and the gun. Because of that, I will put it in B tier, right behind this one right here. See now, again, I think this is personal preference. I just hate Panzer.IV C. I think it's not the best vehicle out there, and that's why I prefer this one, At least if I'm not gonna survive shit, and yes, it's a little bit slower than Panzer.IV C, but at least give me good, reliable gun. And you can also shoot on the move decently. With Panzer.IV C, forget about that. That's why this spot. For new players, I don't recommend buying this. Even for experienced players, it's not worth the 50 euros or whatever. Same goes for T26, but T26 shielded is, in my opinion, a little bit easier to play, especially for new players. And then this is the worst tank in 1.3, no doubt. P824. It's the most unique tank, but the shittiest one. And look, let's go through the platform. 43 kilometers per hour. Only weighs 6 tons, that's not bad. First problem, only 2 crew members, both on the left side. One shot in here, you're dead. The good thing is that 35 millimeters, where it's weak spot, and then only 15, but it's angled. So there is quite some possibilities for bounce. And then rockets. This is the most unique thing, the only reason why would you play this tank. 24 rockets. And these rockets are terrible. 600 grams of explosive, that sounds nice, but only 10 millimeters of penetration. What does that mean? You can only kill open vehicles and some vehicles in like commander or near the track. But even for that, you need a huge amount of luck. I still think the tank is a little bit better due to the ammo box that you can put down on the ground, because you can replenish your full 24 ammo. So you get 48 ammo, if you count that in. That's a little bit better. I was still able to get some kills, but it just very match dependent on who you came across, it's not the best. If you encounter someone who you just can't penetrate, you can go take this finger, and you can. If you encounter someone with 0 armor or they're open, sure, but because of that, I will put it in, not in C, in D tier. I think it's terrible tank. It's fun, don't get me wrong. It's fun to go out with it, but also at the same time, it's fun, but it's frustrating as hell. Depends on what you meet. For new players, not recommended, not even close. Even for experienced players, I would say if you want to have fun, sure. But again, not worth the money. Oh, this one is not 50 euros. This is like 2,000 or 3,000 golden eagles. So, still expensive, but not that much as the previous 3 ones. And now, last 2 vehicles. And these are the vehicles that I don't have in the hangar. I never played them even, Don't take my word for it. All I did is watch videos of other content creators and what I've seen from the games. But I think I've seen this one like 2 times, LVT4, and Toldi, I've seen it, I think once, if I remember correctly. So yeah, definitely don't take my word for it. But LVT, this is basically LVT with M8 HMC turret on the top. Just based on that, I would put it even below M8 HMC. Why? The LVT in 1.0, you have stabilizer with that tank. You have 37mm cannon with that tank. That tank is beautiful. But this one, on the other hand, you don't get stabilizer. So at least, if I'm playing with shitty gun and shitty turret, I want it on fast vehicle. That's it, that's my reasoning. I could put it in C tier. I think I could do that. But at the end, it's still LVT. It's still M8 75mm cannon and 50 cal on the top. So for that reason, I don't think it deserves C spot. I will put it in B at the end right here because I haven't played it. And then Toldi, this is almost the same as the Swedish 1.0 tanks, the Stridsvagn 31, if I remember correctly the name. Same 37mm cannon on top. The only difference is that this one doesn't have the Saber with 115mm of penetration. That's definitely not good. I still think you can compare it to tanks like where it is Panzerjäger I T26. It's quite fast, even though lacks horsepower a little bit. A gun is okay. I think it deserves either A spot right here at the end or B spot. I will put it just now in A, but again, don't take my word for these two tanks. I didn't play them, I don't know. Let's make it full screen now. Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. And this is it. 100% people will disagree, We have our preferences, we have our opinion. It's opinion, It's only my opinion. It's worth poo, Throw it on the ground. But yeah, my opinion is this, what you see. Of course, if I would play these tanks for 100 games more, maybe I would change something. But I've played it for like 3-4 weeks already. I had enough. I changed some tanks like these tanks in A and B tier around so much that I said, you know what, I need to finish this. It's too much. People don't really care about this BR, so why bother, so much with it? Comment down below. What do you disagree with? What tanks do you think I should put differently? Maybe you will change my mind a little bit. I've said in 1.0 tier list video, you will definitely not change my opinion, on D tier vehicles and say, oh, it's S tier. You will not do that, but maybe I will think, oh, maybe T35 is really, much higher. Stuff like that. And also, before I go, this video takes a long time. Please, you can go watch other videos. I don't beg. I never say subscribe, like, but for this one, please, it helps out a lot, a lot. I also want to say something. Go try out every single tank in here. Don't think, AMC is in C tier. I will not even play it. I will play only S tier tanks. I don't recommend that, This is all content that you can enjoy. Go try every tank out and, enjoy the game. If you get of course you will get frustrated much quicker, with tanks down here than with tanks up here. Of course, no. But I encourage everyone to try out everything, Don't skip, because when you come to top BR, you will realize, there's nothing special there. Now, what I will do next is, of course, some videos here and there. But the next big one is starter pack tier list. I already covered every single starter pack and did a review on it. You can go check that out. Then 1.7 VR tier list. And we only have 21 tanks there, so that will be much quicker, and easier to do. And yeah, this is it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Have a nice day and good. Bye.